There we go. We are live. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Ruben Mercado. I am a program manager here at SHIP. And tonight we are very excited to be joined by Ana Sofia Camacho, who's going to be presenting on executive presence and your career direction. This is the first in a two-part series. We're very excited for Ana Sofia to share her expertise with us. And I'll go ahead and give you a little information about her. Ana Sofia Camacho is a principal product manager in enterprise delivery management at Target, where she spent the last 2 years pioneering the role and building the function from the ground up. She partners with product learners and teams to accelerate speed to value by improving maturity of the product operating model, building the operating systems to drive complex cross-functional collaboration, and driving enterprise value alignment and delivery. Ana Sofia is a passionate public speaker and previously served as president of the Harvard Toastmasters chapter. She's built Toastmasters-style speaking communities and workshops within her company and serves as an advisor for the Target SHIP chapter, which I know some of you here tonight are a part of. So thanks for being here. A SHIP member for 16 years, Ana Sofia is passionate about mentorship, community building, and helping professionals strengthen emotional intelligence, find their authentic leadership style, and communicate with clarity and confidence. So without further ado, Ana Sofia, I will go ahead and turn it over to you. Thank you again so much for sharing with us this evening and excited to learn from you.
Thank you, Ruben. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm very excited to be here tonight with all of you. Ruben did a great job with my introduction, but I always want to add a little bit of flair in addition to that. So again, Ana Sofia Camacho Lucero, grew up in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, went to Boston University, did a background in biomedical engineering, proud SHIP member. Not only that, individually in the family, I'm one of three sisters, all engineers, all SHIP members in different paths of our lives. So that's very exciting. Also very passionate about executive presence, but also doing it authentically. I think that coming from a Hispanic background, sometimes you think that in corporate America, you need to fit a certain mold. But I want you to challenge that today and find your own way of doing it and something that feels natural to you and authentic. So with that, I also like to add, you'll notice that this presentation is formed around movies. I am an avid movie watcher. I always believe that when I talk about something, I like to do it in an approachable way and a memorable way. So hopefully what you hear tonight might not be new, might not be different, but the goal is to make it memorable and it sticks, because that's what matters. You could read all the books, you could go to all the workshops. It's thinking about it and remembering the moments that you need it. So as I said, love going to the movies, AMC A-List. It's part of the subscription. My family and I have it. Love going to see them. And the reason I just talk about that is because you'd be surprised how the analogy of movies helps a lot in your career. As Ruben said, today we're going to do part one. It's going to be focused on the efforts to define your story, to clarify what you want to be known for, to communicate your value. And then I really encourage you to join part two. Again, if you have friends who want to join and don't do part one, that's totally okay. But part two is about taking action, because there's two roles you have to play in your career. One is defining the vision strategy, and the other one is putting it into action. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So why do I talk about this in terms of movies? Take a step back and remember when you go see a movie, either in theaters or you're streaming it, whatever platform, when you watch a movie, you feel something. That means that you are in the presence of an experience that was meant for you. It brings laughter, it brings sadness, it brings emotions out of them. It makes you react to it. And that's not accidental. That's why we have types of movies. If there's a drama, it's going to lead, maybe it leads to crying. If there's a comedy, you're going to laugh. So what I really want you to think about is the intention behind those things. When you watch a movie, it's trying to intentionally have you have a certain experience and have a certain emotion. And I think that a lot of that is, I want us to be intentional about our careers. Because if you think about it, it's the story is told in a specific way. There's so many ways. You even think about a Romeo and Juliet. How many times has Romeo and Juliet been made into movies? How many different versions of Romeo and Juliet there are that you could say, oh, it's a whole different story, but the elements of the story are there. So just because one story might be the same, it can be told in very unique perspectives. And I want you to think about the role of a director and think of yourselves, what does a director do? A director they're the most active member when filming a movie, because everyone else is receiving direction from the director. Direction in itself, is the wording is there. And when a director is there, they're creating a vision. They are thinking about, what direction do I want to take with my story? What tone do I want from it? how do I want to be intentional about it? Do I want to do it, with a certain camera? Do I want to do it with certain actors? Do I want a story that's meaningful? Do I want a short film? Do I want a feature length film? Do I want to do it in an hour 30 minutes? Do I want to do it in a series of movies? And you also think about it, who is with me when I'm filming? Who is going to help me deliver the vision that I want to deliver? How is that story going to be experienced? Do I want something that should be streamed? Do I want something that can only be in theaters? Do I want a movie, think about your favorite movies that you watch, a movie that people will gravitate to and watch many, many times. It's a comfort movie, or just a very heavy film that they watch once and it changes them. From there, they take ownership of the final product. A movie is not done until it's released. So there's a lot of journeys you take with the film of what direction you want to go. What do you want to do? So why do I say all this? Is because I want you to think of your career as your movie, and you are the director of that movie. And I want to make you realize something. If your career is your movie, it is already playing. And that's not a bad thing. That just means you are taking time out of your day. You're at a different point in your career. It may be early, midway, later experience, but it's already playing. And if you're not being intentional as a director of your career, you might be missing out on opportunities to understand, how is your film being portrayed? All these questions that a director asks, have you taken the time to think about them? So what do I mean by that? If someone watches your movie today, even in how you acted today, the things you did today, the meetings, every meeting you were at, you could think of that as a performance. Every intentional decision you made, I'd say tonight you were all intentional. You took time out of your evening to attend a workshop to talk about career development. That was already an intentional thing. You are directors, and you are being intentional in saying, I want to take in new information that's going to influence what direction I take. But you're going to also think about, what are moments in time where I'm not being intentional? Because I wasn't intentional, I missed an opportunity. Maybe I didn't realize people were watching my movie right now. Maybe I thought that in a meeting, I didn't need to be as present. So it's okay, no one's watching me. But that doesn't, you are already making an impression. So today's session is really, the reason I say such a simple thing is because you watch a movie, you have no control of it. Think of it, if you were to go to theaters. Imagine you're about to go watch a movie. Is the director right outside saying, hey, before you go into the movie, I just want to tell you that my intention with this film was to tell you my story. Or after that, after you come out of the movie, you don't get to stop people and say, what did you think? Did you laugh at that joke? Did you see what I was trying to do? You don't always have the opportunity to explain everything around it. So you want to be intentional so that when people are engaging with you and your career and those moments in time, you are being conscious of, what do you want to portray? To me, that's executive presence. You are consciously saying, what do I want to exude in the way I do things, in the way I collaborate, in the way I'm perceived, in the way I perceive others? And it's a combination. If people watch your movie, what do you want them to experience? How do you want them to feel? What do you want to feel when you're going through your career? There's a lot of inside out and outside in. And I think it's important to ask that, because when you think about it, what role are you playing today? As I said, your movie is happening right now. You click play, maybe it's been happening for a couple years, how the length of your career, that's your movie. What role are you playing? Are you saying, you know what, I'm kind of an audience, I'm kind of just watching things happen? And it's okay if so. There's no wrong answer, because again, the important thing is you're here tonight, you're taking a step towards awareness and intention. But sometimes you do an assessment, it's like, hey, my career, these last 3 years, how have they been? Have I just been an audience member and things have happened to me and I just go with the flow? Am I waiting? Am I an own audience member for my movie? So I'm waiting to see what happens. I'm waiting to see how people react. I'm waiting to see what happens to me. That could be a little bit more of a, well, if it comes to me, it's meant to be. Am I taking a role into that? Or you could be a critic. How many times have you said, in my career, I went to a workshop, I went to a thing, I need a mentor. I need a mentor. So what does that say? So you're pausing everything about your life until you get a mentor? Or I need an interview, but you're not doing anything about finding that interview. But until I have that interview, I'm not going to do anything. So when you're a critic to your own career, you're actually focusing on it's good. All of these, and nothing's bad, because depending on where you are, you can step in and out of these roles. There's not one size fits all. And it might be okay to acknowledge where you're at. If you're a critic, that's okay. You always want to grow and you want to challenge yourself and you want to assess what are you doing and not doing. But what you want to avoid is going only into being in critic mode. And what that means is that you're only criticizing and finding gaps And then what happens is you almost reach a paralysis of, well, you've identified 60 gaps now. I'm no great. What does that do for your confidence? You're so overwhelmed. What are you going to do to take action with that? The other one is an actor. This is another one that's very challenging because you might say, no. It's not that I'm not engaged. No. I'm not. I'm actually so focused. I'm right in the middle of it. I'm engaged. I'm working through it. Yes. I'm executing. The only thing with executing is it in service of your vision? So I'll give you an example. You might say, Ana Sofia, I'm super busy. You don't even know. I'm working, my boss, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Actually, I'm working extra hours. Great. If you take a step back and I ask you, do you know what you're working towards? And the answer might be unsure, then you might be acting as an actor because you are fulfilling a script, but was it the script you intended? Are you working on the wrong movie? And I'll say that is okay because these are scary questions. And I'll be honest, if you're not intentional about it, they become even more overwhelming. And then you go back into critic mode. You're right. That's too many things. I'm not doing this. I should do this. I should do that. And it almost makes it scarier. It is okay. When you think of your career, it's the little thing of like every role you do. If you're in a role today where you're an actor, you're executing and you hate it. You know what that uncovered? That uncovered things you don't want to do for your next role. That's clarity. That's great. That's not bad. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you've lost. It doesn't mean your movie's done. It's still playing and you can take control. But that is being intentional. That's you being a director, not an actor, because an actor would keep executing blindly to achieve everything they need to do. So you lose sight of that. The other angle you want to consider is a director. So again, it's intentional. So it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg because you might be in the middle of executing and all it takes is pausing, looking up and saying, is what I'm executing in service of what I want to go to? And if the answer is yes, then great. If the answer is actually, I don't know where I want to go, that's okay too, because sometimes that's a hard question to answer. I think I've been through so many emotions where I'm doing roles and I'm saying, well, do I like doing it? I don't know, but I can do it. Just because you can do it doesn't mean it's the thing you want to do. Or sometimes when you say, am I being challenged in my career? As an actor, you might be executing and saying, this is hard. Are you stretching yourself in an area that would benefit and work towards the next role you want? Or is it just something that you're struggling and going against things that are more aligned to your strengths? So all to say, figure out what character you're playing and then try to challenge yourself to not stay stuck in one of these. Directors what we want to work towards, but if you're in critic mode, try to be more in actor mode. And okay, I've been criticizing. What can I execute on? What can I move tomorrow? I need to find a mentor. I should work on my resume. I need to do job application. I need to explore. And that's a lot of things. That's really hard. Maybe set 30 minutes once every 2 days to invest a little bit in that. And progress is just getting comfortable with the idea of your resume, making progress. I'm not telling you your resume is horrible and you have to do it all today. Do it incrementally. So that's a balance between a critic and an actor. Another one is sometimes you have to be patient. There are things outside of your control. Maybe there's not an opportunity. That's okay. You can be an audience member sometimes. Sometimes things are happening in your life outside of your career where you're saying, you know what? I need to balance work-life balance. I need to focus on my family. I need to focus on these things. I'm going to be more of an audience for my career right now. That's okay too. So again, it is not wrong. The thing is, be intentional of where you are. Ask yourself where you are and then figure out if that's the best thing for you. And the answer might be, actually, I need to be in audience mode. And that's okay. I need to be in critic mode because I haven't thought about all these things. Great. But you have to balance that out with an actor, with execution. I also want to say you got to be careful because you don't only want to be in execution mode because then you're going to look back and be like, what did I do for the last 2 years? It was things in service of others. And did I leave that with things that aligned with where I want to go? The way I like to think about it is when you're executing, think of your bullet points for your resume. Is what I'm executing on going to give me some great bullet points for my resume that I can make myself even more marketable for the thing I want next? And the thing you want next might be what you're already working towards, but challenge it. Is this a good bullet point? Because sometimes when you're in execution mode, a lot of that work might be things that maybe you need to do trade-offs with, or maybe it isn't, or maybe it's not even aligned with your role. Then it goes more into that delegation of it. So the reason I say this is, again, being intentional with the director. And why do you want to be a director? Because as a director, you are taking ownership. You want to be in the seat where the decisions are made. What does a director do? A director is the person that when they're filming a movie has to answer all the questions from actors. What should my character be doing? From writers, how are we going to execute this script? From crew, what lighting do you want? You're the person that answers all the questions. It's a scary place to be at. I'm not, I'm sure every director goes to bed at night and they're like, that was overwhelming. Did they have answers for everything they were asked? Probably not. But who knows best than the person that understands the vision? Do you feel like you understand your vision? You might not. That's okay. You need to cut a movie again. Just because a movie started doesn't mean you can't take it back. You're in the chair. It requires clarity. Sometimes a good result of a conversation is just having clarity. As I said, if you're in execution mode and you realize, you know what, everything that I'm doing right now, I don't like it. I can do it. I'm good at it. Do I like it? Do I want to keep doing it? That in itself is clarity. And that is empowering. It also takes courage. It is really hard to do. Trust me, the easiest thing to do would be to be in audience mode. If you tell me what's the most enjoyable out of all these roles, I'd say audience. Audience is the easiest. Then you get to be like, you know what? That movie was horrible. I didn't like it. Well, I'm so sorry, but you're talking about your own career. I get to throw a popcorn. No, I hated it. Ugh, it was so boring. I didn't even laugh. A critic is going to be overly, think of that mindset. You don't want to be stuck in critic mindset. You got to love yourself. How are you going to encourage your morale and your confidence throughout that if you're being your own hardest critic? That's not helpful. An actor, fake it till you make it. Doesn't mean you need to overcorrect and go into execution mode. Again, you are an asset. Think of it. A movie is an asset and you have strengths. They have to be in service of you, because when they're in service of the company will always take. If you're good at what you do, they're going to give you more roles. But you still have a chance to shape and influence, and you have a chance to challenge it. If you're in a role where you're like, you know what? I think the hardest thing to do is acknowledge that you're not happy in your role, or you're not in a place where you're set up for success. It takes a lot of, it backs to the chair. That is very hard to admit because it's vulnerable. It's realizing I can no longer be an audience member because I'm saying I don't like the movie I'm watching, but I have to do something about it. I have to figure out if I need to recast people. I have to figure out if I need to change the movie. What do I need to change? That in itself is scary. But again, clarity is step one. Be mindful. Give yourselves grace. Even this conversation tonight, you asking yourselves questions, that's already effort. And it takes time. You're not going to do this by tomorrow. The thing is, a director works on a movie day by day. You make progress. It's all about motions. And it comes with accountability. If you're going to be a critic and say, oh, I hate this, but I'm not doing anything, but I've asked you, so what have you tried to do in the past month? What have you tried to advance? And you say nothing, then I'm going to say, you're not sitting in the chair. You're not doing anything. And you know what? If you don't sit in that chair, you're going to keep progressing. And guess what? Everyone will tell you who should be sitting in that chair. And if you don't sit there, someone else will sit there. And someone else will make the calls towards your movie. And they're going to give you a script. And they're going to give you direction. And then that's when it doesn't feel authentic to yourself. And then guess what? You don't feel grounded. If you're not sitting in your director's chair, you don't feel grounded. And then that affects your confidence. Sometimes all confidence is being grounded, and you don't need others. When you think of external validation, how many times in your job you want to hear, I'm doing a good job? How about telling yourself you're doing a good job? You don't need to hear it from others because you see the evidence. I know what I'm doing. I know the value. Why? Because I've invested time into my value narrative. I know what direction I want to take. It's aligned to the goals. You just need to tell yourself. No one else is going to tell you. So the reason I say this is because in today's session, my goal is that we step into the director, sit on the director's chair, and then talk about what action we'll take. And again, it is scary. I'm not saying it's easy. So as you do these steps, be graceful with give yourselves grace, be kind to yourselves, because again, you don't want to go into critic mode. Now I'll start with the first question. And this is a hard question. So again, movie, your career, go with the vibes. Now I'm going to ask you, if someone were to say, Ana Sofia, what is your movie? Okay, I'm asking you how do others perceive you? What genre would you be? I might say, oh, I'm a drama, just serious, motivated, clear. What if others see you as a comedy? Or what if you say, you know what, I'm comedic, I'm fun, or a horror, even less, or drama could be bad. You might say, I'm a comedy. Nope, dramatic is not good either. Not to say that you're a dramatic person. It just means, do you have chaotic things that are happening? A drama means do you have control of the narrative? So again, it's a balance, because you do want to ask the questions. What type of movie genre do I think I am? Is it the one I want to be? Now, I'm not saying these are not the exact genres of movies, but is my film, am I being perceived the way I want to be perceived? And that might be one question. The others are others perceiving me the way I want to be perceived? And that's two different questions. How many times you go, especially now, I'll say a Disney movie. I go into a Disney movie and I say, that's a children's movie. Why am I crying? Why am I crying watching a Disney movie? Oh, that was more emotional than I thought. Oh, that got me. So then, but the director mean that. Did they market it? How many times you see a trailer and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the comedy. And then you go see it and you're like, oof, that was really sad. That was really hard. I don't like that. So think about it. You want to be intentional. If you're intentional about your movie, it will be it will be more aligned with how people perceive you. And that's how you want to balance it. You want to be intentional and you want to ask yourselves, there's an exercise I used to do with my teams where I'd say, what do you want to be known for? And you could do a lot of work. So let's think about the work you're doing. You want to be intentional about how you're perceived. That's great. You can do Strength Finders 2.0. There's so many personality tests or strength tests to tell you what are you good at. That's an internal assessment. You are assessing your movie. But then externally, you could say, hey, sometimes I'm missing out on strengths. So I did an exercise with my team and I gave them a mirror and it was an image of a mirror. And I said, okay, everyone write strengths. So Ruben, I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to tell you what strengths I see in you. And what that did is that unlocked things you might have not been aware of. Maybe you were taking it for granted that you're a great collaborator, but I'm saying Ruben always helps me. Every time I need someone to brainstorm an idea, he'll take time out of his day. And you never thought that because you're like, oh, you know what? I never even paid attention to that. I was just being, a good peer. But now you have a new thing that's a strength. And you're like, you know what? I want to make that part of my brand. I'm great at collaboration. So don't take for granted that in a movie, it goes both ways. What did you intend for them to feel? And then what are others feeling? And again, sometimes it's welcome. Other times they might say a strength of yours is, you know what, you're so great at taking notes. Okay, but I don't want to be taking notes the whole time, so I'm not going to take that. Okay, I don't want to be the note. I don't want to do that in my role. So again, you can take it, but it's awareness and make sure you're asking your peers. And you know what you do with that information, then you're able to shape it into something. So again, the movie pitch, how do you show up? So I just told you earlier, your movie's in motion. It's happening right now. How are you being perceived and how can you influence that? So again, a director doesn't have a chance to talk to every single person that's going to watch their movie before or after. But in your careers, you can. And that's your movie pitch. And what I mean by that is how you talk about your career, your brand. What do you bring in others? Again, I said with Ruben, and sorry I'm picking on you, Ruben, but it's a collaborator. And I'm saying, Ruben, I love working with you because every time I feel like you're just such a great team player and we collaborate and I want to have you on your team. That's part of your brand. Oh my God, Ana Sofia, very great. She deals with ambiguity so great, with complex things given. So it's like, listen to what people say about you. And if they're saying things that you don't agree with, that is already an indicator for what you need to do to influence your pitch now. If what people tell you are not the things you want to be heard, and that happened. One of my, what are the things, if someone tells you, oh my gosh, you're so funny, and like this, I'm like, ooh, do I need to work on my executive presence to be taken, do I have a credibility issue? Am I being taken seriously? Am I being credible where I need to be? Now, this is where it's the balance of being authentic. I'm not telling you to change everything about yourselves because early on in my career, I feel like I saw people and I was like, oh, I'll present it like they do. And guess what? One, it was incredibly hard. And two, it just felt like it wasn't me. It felt weird. It felt wrong. And then I realized, oh, that's not my style. Actually, I would try to make it fun. Just look at how I'm talking about you. My brand is that I'm talking to you about executive presence, communication, career, but I'm doing it my own way with things that I like, with things that I find memorable. That is your brand. What is your brand? Also, you are the main character of your own film. I want to, that's part two. We'll go into, are you acting as a main character? How many times do we hear, is it main character energy? Everyone on this call should be having main character energy. What are your strengths? Do you know your main character? Sometimes you might say, you know what? I feel like I should be the main character of my own movie, but I'm not acting as that. I'm not recognizing myself. I'm not giving myself the credit of being the main character. That's your confidence. That's understanding your strengths and your superpowers and what you bring to the table. That is your pitch. A lot of your elements with your value narrative and in your career, when you're thinking about career progression, is talking about the value you bring, why you're good, And it might feel silly, and especially culturally, it feels uncomfortable. We were not right. It almost feels like you're bragging about yourself, and it feels foreign because you're not doing it regularly. And sometimes you yourself need to hear it. You need to spend some time giving yourself kudos. I think in that way, because if you think about it, oh my gosh, my manager hasn't said that I do a good job. One of my favorite phrases is your ability to understand your strengths should not rely on people's ability to perceive them. Some managers are not well equipped. No one's perfect. Okay, we're all humans, even your leaders. If they are not able to tell you that you're good at something, it doesn't mean that you need to wait for that. You're being an audience member. Why are you waiting for someone to tell you? Where can I be proactive? I'm going to ask my peers. I'm going to ask my leader. You don't need to wait for a performance review to ask for feedback. You don't need to, and it doesn't need to be super formal. Let me ask my peers. Let me ask my family. Let me ask my friends, because again, a lot of it is how you make people feel. And then you translate that into strengths and superpowers, because I think that what the version of myself that I am at work is the same version of myself that I am outside of work. Maybe the words are different and the topics are different, but the approach I have is still very authentic to who I am. So this exercise, you could still get it from a lot. Now, will my family members who don't work with me, might they be able to give me insight on that angle? No, but I still get the core of, what they notice in me and how I make them feel. It's still different parts of yourself. Your story. What's your story? What have you done? How have you grown? A lot of this is hard to answer. And I'm going to be honest, even 2 years ago, I was very uncomfortable with asking myself those questions because I got caught up. You get caught up in execution mode. You're an actor. I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing. Wait, what is it for? What outcome did it drive? What did that mean? And frankly, until you work on a resume, you're not really forced to put it into those terms, to phrase it like that. And it's uncomfortable. Like, thank goodness there's additional tools like AI and things to help you navigate that. But that ability to understand your story, that's main character energy. You have to say, what is if I can't describe my main character, you, how can you even tell me about the movie? How can you even tell me? All you're telling me is about the scene and where the movie is, but like, who's the main character? If you don't know, and that's okay if you can't answer this, but it takes time. But once you understand your main character, your plot, the story, the brand, the vision you want, then you can start talking about direction. Where does this character want to go? Maybe they don't know. And sometimes that's intimidating. How many times have you talked to, you go to a workshop and they're like, you should have a 10-year plan and a 5-year plan. Great, if that works for you. But guess what? And Ruben, why don't you present? My role was created. I don't know where my role is going in 10 years because I'm creating it as I go. That's okay. If you can, maybe it's not a specific role. Maybe it's about, do we want to reach a certain leadership level? Are you driven by impact? Are you driven by influence? Are you driven by, I want to be a people manager? Because that might help you remain flexible to say, maybe my role is not a ladder up. Maybe it's lateral moves. Maybe I want to remain an individual contributor because it's not for me. You don't only have to go, through the titles. There's a lot of individual contributor roles that are very rewarding. And why? Why does this story matter? I think that's one of the hardest questions because in the end, when you're in your day-to-day, we don't regularly ask ourselves, what is it for? What is it for? Why do I want to work on this? Is it towards that? And sometimes the answer might be, it's a job. A job is a job. It's for revenue. It's for, you get all your buzzwords and your terms for business. And it's like, a lot of those are the same. Okay, great. Are you learning? Are you challenging yourself? You could evaluate, do you want to be fairly compensated? That's a lot of different things you can work towards, but you're aware of them. And that way, when something new happens, you can assess if it's still aligned to what you're working towards. And the moment it isn't, that makes it a little easier for you to react and decide what to do versus continuing to be stuck in like, I don't know, they gave me the script 2 years ago. Is it still relevant? No, the movie has changed. We're in a different genre. The actors have changed, but you're still like, no, but this is a script they gave me. I just got to do it. Why? And the answer might be it's still aligned to your values. Great, then keep going. But if not, you want to have those signals and you don't want to be an audience member that's just waiting for someone else to tell me. I want to have control. So again, I just gave you a lot of sections. That, again, that's a big list. That's a big pitch. That's a very long pitch. If you answered all these questions for me, we'd be talking for 2 hours. At this point, I'd make sure we have coffee or something to entertain ourselves. So the important thing to also know is This is not the same pitch for everyone. It is important that you understand all of these sections so you can pick and choose depending on who you're talking to, because they're not all going to be interested in the same thing. What do I mean by that? You hear your elevator pitch, and that's a time horizon. Their elevator pitch is very much, if you bump into someone on the elevator, what are you going to tell them? Quick interactions and networking. Your impact pitch. What do I do? What do I change? How do I influence? How do I drive outcomes? Your growth. What have I done? So you have a quick interaction with someone. If you're talking to a leader, you don't want to start with your life story. You also don't want to start directly on like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm not. Naturally try to adapt. And also sometimes I think that when you're talking to people, we forget that there's a human behind it. A pitch, sometimes you come in and you're like, I memorized my pitch, I got it, I'm going to deliver, I'm going to nail this. Read the room. I think that my favorite part about SHPE conferences, if you go to a career fair, those are people. I know you've been in line for an hour, but that person gets tired. And sometimes when I'm in a career fair, I notice them and I'm like, man, they're human. I'm going to start just saying, how are you doing? Just behind everything, they might be a VP, they might be a CEO, whatever title you want to give them, they're people. So read the room and try to understand, where are they at? Is this the right time? You might have the perfect pitch. It might not be the right time. Yes, Anna, I see your hand raised. Tell me.
Please tell us, Ana Sofia, as a professional,
Mm-hmm.
how many elevator pitches you hear instead of doing what you're saying? And doesn't that drive you insane?
Yes. I think it's a great, it's because then I'm like, oh, you're in critic, you're telling me all the things. Where are they? Where am I seeing it? It's absolutely right. You hear it. It's a balance. It's like, what are we doing here? Why are you giving me a word vomit? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, show me. Let the work speak for itself. Did you even have to tell me? Could you have talked about it in different ways? And I love that question. Yes. Oh, you're on mute, by the way. Anna, you're on mute.
Also, the elevator pitch that you do is already in your resume. And as long as I know everybody that are there to interview you at ITA or at the convention, they know how to read. So you don't have to do the same thing.
But see, that's the human side. You're like, why am I repeating what I'm already giving them, what they have access to, what I submitted before? Do I need to give them an impact? And it's not a performance review. I need to tell, well, I did this wrong, then I did that wrong, then I did this wrong. Maybe I need to talk about the growth and the direction. So that's exactly right. Look at the circumstances. I have my resume and we're talking. I don't need to read my resume out to them. Okay. Do they know you or do they not? If they don't know me, maybe I start, and also humanize it. Again, authentically. I can't tell you how many times people just want to be talked to as a person, not a CEO. I feel like sometimes people forget that CEOs are people too, and they just maybe want to talk about the show and movie they're watching. No, I know I'm saying movies again. And sometimes you form a more meaningful connection by treating them as a human than having your own agenda and your pitch as a priority. Think about like, I have to tell them this, I have to tell them that. So, and I love that you brought that up, and that's exactly right. Humanize them. And once you're going to read the room. Okay, they have my resume. And this is, again, strangers. Now let's talk about your career, your manager. They know what you're working on. You don't need to, let me tell you in my performance review, let me explain it. They wrote your performance review. You gave it to them before. That's not part of you should then be having a growth pitch. You should be holding them accountable to say, you know what I do. You know I deliver value, competency. Stop selling it. You don't need to sell that part. They already know it. Be confident that they know it. Sit in your chair and say, how are you going to help me get to the place I want to go? What am I telling you? I'm giving you direction on where I want to go. And as your manager, that's how that's literally their job. Part of their job is to help you think of a plan. And guess what? Sometimes that plan might be, it's not going to be within this role. Great. How can we think about what other roles are available in the company? And they help you with that. But that's already a different conversation that if you were focusing on the day-to-day, the work, if you were giving them the elevator pitch, if you were giving them the impact pitch, they're your manager. They know that. In fact, they're going to be giving you, think about agenda. Your manager will be like, I need more impact. I need more impact. You should be carving intentional spaces to be having growth conversations. And if you're not doing that today, unfortunately, there are too many managers, there's too many things on plates that they're not intentional. I'm going to set time with them to talk about my career, not about the day-to-day, not about the work and flight, about the career. I'm going to identify if I want to stretch myself, I'm going to raise my hand for a project where I want and tell them why it's aligned to the career goal. If you're not pitching your career movie, how are they going to know about it? No one's going to pitch it for you. Yes, Ana.
And don't you think that what you want to see when you go to these conventions of SHIP or whoever, you want to know if the person will be a good fit to your company. And that's why they need to talk more and expand that elevator pitch that is, for me, robotic versus doing what you're saying.
Absolutely. And because in the end, you're going to work with this person every day. And even think of interviews. This is, we're talking about a career for in person. Think of an interview. An interview is a space designed to be the most uncomfortable experience ever. It is, you're nervous, it's uncomfortable, it's hard. It is designed to be that. It's designed to be a test. So in that, you want to be focused on having a conversation and also being your natural self, because some people train to be wonderful interviewers and then they get hired and you're like, who is this person? That is not the person that interviewed, because they could have mastered how to interview, but they're not showing me the selves that wasn't that the way they handled things are differently, the way they communicated was differently, because they practiced their pitch so much that they lost sight of how they would have problem solved, which is why in interviews you have case studies, because they're trying to challenge seeing the true way you would address this. That's why there's literal questions in the moment. They don't want to see your rehearsed answer. There's some behavioral interviews for that. They want to see you in action, and you need to be confident. You're in the director's chair. You know what your movie is. Trust that. Trust your movie, trust your career, and trust that you can handle that. And guess what? If they don't hire you, I know it's time. I know I say this and people feel like, ugh, you're interviewing them as much. Sometimes if they say that wasn't a great movie, I'm going to say, well, my movie wasn't for you. If you didn't enjoy it, if you didn't laugh at my jokes, I think I'm really funny. I made a comedy. You didn't laugh at them? It's not for you. You're not my target audience. I was aimed at this, and you are just trying to find it's a fit. So if it don't, and it's hard. And I think that naturally it feels like in an interview, you're not in the position to do that. Yes, you are. You're a director and you're letting someone in an interview experience your film, and they can say if they like, but you can also say, you didn't even get it. I told you all this, and that's all you saw and all you heard. Oh, no, I don't think you get my movie. And is it worth you explaining it to them? Think about it. That's an interview. If they in that moment didn't catch and you feel like there was a misunderstanding, it wasn't the right match. And keep looking for a place that is willing to understand the experience that you want to deliver, but it's also reading you and giving you the, aligning with the experience you want to give. So both of these are aligned. And I want to be, it's also something very important. You don't do it alone. I just gave you a lot of important things. We talked about tasks. We talked about internal stuff, a lot of emotional internal work. I just gave you a lot of questions to think through. I just gave you a lot of scenarios to encounter. Don't get exhausted. You're going to go crazy. All of that in your head. You can't possibly do that alone. A director might have the best vision, the best idea. They can't execute on a movie alone. And that's exactly what your career is. If you can do it alone, wonderful, but that's amazing. But you could help accelerate things. You can help ease things if you lean on others. So the thing I want to do is, it's just, don't feel alone. You coming into this session today was you asking for help. You're saying, I can't think of this on my own. I'm going to go to a workshop on building executive presence so someone else can help inspire me and think. That in itself is you working as a director and saying, I need help. I need help is sometimes the hardest thing, because you don't get to tell people you need help. You want to take action in that. So what does that mean? The role of a crew. When you make a movie, there's a whole crew. When you watch the end of a movie, do you see all those credits? That's all the people behind the scenes. I know a lot of people don't stay for the credits unless there's an after credit scene and literally you're like waiting it out. But all those people, it takes a village. This movie, like, that is true. And you can't make it alone. And that's why it's okay to ask for help. And they're different crew members. So think about it like, I want people who are going to support you, your support system, your family, your friends, your loved ones. I want people who are going to challenge me, people that I respect, that I want subject matter experts, people that I look up to. I want them to challenge me. Sometimes I want encouragement. So even when you think about mentors, a lot of people say, I want a mentor. And my first question is, what type of mentorship do you want? And they're like, what do you mean? And you're like, well, there's different types of mentors. There's mentors that you go who are there to encourage you and guide you and help you identify, what could you work on? I have other mentors that I want to challenge me. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. I don't want you to give me what's good about it. I want to hear what I need to work on. There are other mentors that I say, I actually want you to guide me. Maybe I'm a first-time director. It's my first film. I'm very humble. I want to work with Steven Spielberg. They've done so many movies. I want someone who's done this before. That's a different type of mentor. I want someone to be there with the journey with me. And that's a producer. When you think of the roles in a movie, a director owns the vision, but a producer is responsible for the execution. They have to get the money. They have to make sure all the things are made possible for the director to deliver that vision. But then a director has creative partners, script writers, all those, they're helping them develop the vision. So again, who's challenging your vision? Who's your actor? Who do you just need? Hey, I'm going to give you and tell you what to do. And I need you to just tell me you appreciate it. Is it good? Is it bad? Be mindful of that. And remember, a lot of our support system is your family and loved ones. Don't look down on them as a missed opportunity, because sometimes that's your foundational crew. That is who you go. This is hard. So I said, this is draining. Sometimes you need time to recover, and you could easily get overwhelmed. Again, we talked about the roles. You're stuck in critic. I don't want you to leave this session today and feel overwhelmed. That's not the intention of this. The intention of this is you already took the first step today to start thinking about it. That's clarity. And then you're going to slowly come up with your plan. Again, a movie is not filmed in a day. It takes months. It takes years. Think about Avatar. Avatar, we have to wait like 3 to 4 years between movies. Okay. That is okay. But you want to be intentional. You want to understand who's in my crew, and then who do I need? What am I missing? Because that's different. When you talk to your peers in your network, you don't just say, I want a mentor. What does that mean? In the same industry, more senior, a peer? Mentors can be your peers. You can have peers that you trust, and they're mentoring. You're mentoring each other. That's still a relationship, a peer-to-peer mentorship. That's still possible. I think sometimes we forget that a mentor has to be older than you, more experienced in your field or in another one. Again, we're not humanizing. Back to the conversation Ana and I just had. Then you're not thinking about them as humans. Mentors might be in people with titles that you don't even imagine. Your family, your friend, your coworker, and someone you went to school with. You pursue different fields, but when you talk about some challenges, you're encountering some of the same things. Don't take those for granted. And I also want to say that crew, you thinking about who's your film crew, that's how you accelerate your growth. But I also want to say having the wrong people around you, that's detrimental. And I think that it's okay for you to assess your crew and say, sometimes you might have people in your crew that were helpful 5 years ago, and right now that you can outgrow people. And that's totally okay too, because you are growing through phases of your life, and maybe someone that was incredibly helpful in the past and was a peer, people grow apart, interests and changes happen. They might not be there, and they could still be your friend. They could still be there to support you, but it's almost assess your crew and say, what seat am I giving them? So you're in the director's chair. Who has a seat? Because you might have someone in your crew that maybe has been there for the last 10 years. And oh my gosh, they're my go-to. Ruben, again, my go-to person. Ruben and I, we go way back. But you know what, Ruben, now I feel like he's still being my my cheerleader. And right now I don't need a cheerleader. And then maybe we're not as connected anymore, and I don't have as much time, or maybe we've grown apart. That's okay. You can bring new people in, or maybe that means, no, you know what? I still value Ruben's input. I'm going to make sure I set time with him. Now that gave you action. Now you know who you want to bring back, because maybe you haven't been investing time with mentors, and it's not only mentors, it's champions, it's advocates, it's cheerleaders. I think that sometimes we just think mentor, and it isn't just that. It's a lot of different roles. And I want to say they provide you perspective. I'm the type of person that I will solve my own problem, but I know that I need to talk through it with people. And I need to talk through it because I need someone to hear me, and I need to hear their perspective, but sometimes I just need to hear it myself. Now, I don't always talk to myself in a room. So sometimes it needs to be talking with different people. How do you get perspective? It also opens doors. Again, if I pitch my movie to everyone in my network, that's going to unintentionally be opening up opportunities where my name's going to come to mind. You know what? I love drama films. Next time a drama film comes to me, who's Ana Sofia loves drama. She told me, I remember she was talking about drama films and she loves them. We're filming we should pull her in. Or say, I love horror movies. I love them. So you know what? Ana Sofia is an expert in horror movies. We should bring her in. That already enables an opportunity. So again, I'm not saying that being an audience member and taking a step back is bad, but you are still feeding your network your movie pitch at an ongoing basis and unconsciously investing at an ongoing pace opportunities that might come up. I'm not saying you don't only want to be in waiting mode. I'm not saying like, I talked to 30 people, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to eat my popcorn, it's going to come to me, trust. That's not right either. But you do both. You give and take. And you want them to support your growth. And what I want to say is also, it's not a one-time thing. I think that sometimes when we think about career development, we say, I did it. I invested 3 hours on a Saturday, on a Friday, or right now you invested an hour. Then you're not going to think about it for 3 months. You want to be intentional with your time, even if you say you thought about your career for 10 minutes, but you did 10 minutes every week, that adds up. That adds up incredibly. And you guys remember in school when you had homework and it was like a very hard homework and you kept being stressed about it, but then once you started it, you felt better. Sometimes the fact that you haven't started it is even scarier. And once you start it could be like, ooh, it might be 100 questions, but I just started. I know it's 100 questions and I made progress on one. Yay. That is less scary. So you don't want to let these career conversations become scary just because you're avoiding them. And you're leaving. That's you being an audience member. You're again listening. You're letting someone else define your story. You're letting what they're perceiving today. You're not even controlling how they perceive it. So what I want you to think about is, as a director, you have to adjust. A director might say, I'm going to start filming and plan. It might be perfect. Things happen. Guess what? It rained. I was supposed to today we're going to film a sunny scene. It's raining now. Ugh, what am I going to do? Do I stop? No, maybe we film this other scene. Maybe we make progress on this other thing. Maybe the scene should be in the rain. That would actually make it look better. You don't know. So always remain flexible and adapt. But the thing is, adapting becomes easier when you have a clear vision of your story and where you want to direct and what direction you're going towards. It's less scary to handle things that come in and day out. You want to also stay focused on your outcome. Again, let's say you did this exercise, you have clarity, you shared it with your network. Yes. Okay, now I'm going to go do my work. Don't put your head down and don't look up for like 4 more months, because then you might notice that in those 4 months you were executing, things came in that you took on or you let go that are moving you further away. And it's confusing because if you talk to your manager, they're still saying, Ana Sofia, great job, you're executing, you're doing great. Yeah, but that just, all this stuff and all these new assignments and all these new projects, they're actually far away from what I want to do. I don't even want to do this. I do it great. You're good at it. Good for you. Love that. Was that the outcome though? No. Okay, can we do, or can I get more projects that like bring me over this way a little bit more? Now you can assess that. So it's not wrong. If after today, you start asking yourself this question, you say, actually, I'm way over here and I want to be over there. That's okay, because now you know where you need to work towards, and then you can start taking steps. Before you didn't know that. Before you were just moving in a direction. That is a start. The other one is leverage your crew. If you're uncomfortable, if you know you're nervous and this is intimidating, ask to meet up with a friend and talk through it. Talk to your manager and say, can you help me? I don't know where to start. Now, you know your movie best. If you don't know where to start, talk to people that maybe have advice. Follow a tip. Are you the type that I have to read a book about it? I have to go to a workshop? No, mine is so unique and custom that I need to talk to someone who knows me. Or I need to talk to someone who's been in a situation like me. Or I need to talk to someone that's never been in a situation like mine, because I actually don't want them to be biased. Now you're making progress because you're trying to think about, how can I leverage the crew around me? Or you might say, I don't even have the right crew around me. That might feel sad for a minute, but that's okay. My mom will always say, when something bad happens, you can cry about it today, but what are you going to do about it tomorrow? So it's okay. If it's okay to acknowledge, as I said, it takes courage. And that's why it's hard. None of this is easy. Ana and I were just at an interview. This is designed to feel hard. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It's vulnerable. It's incredibly, and you might find out when you ask yourself that you've never asked yourself those questions. And you might say, I've been in my career for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I never asked what I wanted to do. Why? Because I always did what was asked of me, or what I thought I needed to do, or what I thought was the important role. How many times are you fighting for a title just for the title? Did you even like what that title brought along, the job description? No, but I wanted the title. Sometimes that means you're reading the script and you're saying, I should be a director, a VP. Okay, is it a VP towards the outcomes you want? Just getting the title tomorrow doesn't change things. You still have to do that job every day. Is it lean? Is it delivering those outcomes you want? The other thing is keep the story moving. Again, take action little by little. Your movie's in play. It's playing already. So the only thing you could do is try to keep along with it and keep up at your own pace. Be kind to yourself. So it's just to say that every film will have challenges. It's gonna be hard. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And everyone on this call is incredibly resilient. Don't take that for granted. You are all resilient because even being here takes resilience. It takes figuring out, I want to invest an hour of my evening to talk about this. I want to learn. I want to leave with something. That's already someone who is sitting in that chair. What I want to do is I hope this conversation gives you the tools to think about, what do I do with that? And how do I do it in service of what I want? Because guess what? If you ask, how can I be of service to you? Everyone will gladly throw a laundry list of things. Everyone will gladly tell you what they need of you. And that's going to fill up your list of things to execute on without you ever asking yourself, what do you want to do? And then you're able to assess a lot of the things that I'm being asked. Do I want to do it? And again, it's not perfect. I know that it's hard to have that conversation. There are situations of, work and your career, and it's not always flexible. And you might not be able to move immediately, but imagine just having the clarity to say, where I am right now, I don't want to be, but I'm going to take my time. It's going to take time. It's not going to be overnight. It doesn't mean quit your job. It doesn't mean stop doing what you're doing. It just means I'm going to be more intentional and spend time thinking about what other roles I want. I'm going to start talking to people. It's direction. That's all that matters, and it's incremental steps. So with the time that's left, I just want to kind of do a recap of what we talked about today. Starting with your career and your stories already being told. And what I'm asking you to do today is sit in your director's chair and start being intentional about what your story is. And to balance how much of it is what you want your story to be and how much is what people tell you. I don't want you to overcorrect and only lean on what the audience. Imagine that, remember when people say, read the comments, social media everywhere. When you go on TikTok or Instagram or anything, you watch videos and they say, don't read the videos because everyone will have many thoughts and they'll tell you what they think. You don't want to overcorrect and depend on what others say about you. You want to be grounded in your director's chair on your vision. Then from there, you can listen and you don't have to take every feedback you get. Do you think that every director, when they see the reviews for their movie, takes everything into account? Again, is my movie even for you? Back to the interview mode. My movie might not be for everyone. I know who my target audience is. If you're not in my target audience, you might have a bad opinion. I'll take it. Great. I'll consider it. I'm not going to give it the weight of the most important opinion I'm going to consider. It's going to be an input, just a data point for you. But be sure and mindful of how you're managing those data points. The other thing is make your value clear and easy to understand. People, everyone you work with, they're people too. Are they tired? Is this the moment? How are you approaching it? Is it authentic? Don't be afraid to be authentic, because back to what Ana and I were saying, that's who you are at work. You can interview, you can be your perfect. I'm not always perfect. I have bad days. I have days I'm feeling sick. I have days I'm tired and I'm not going to be my best, but that is your true authentic self. So you want to stay as close to that as possible, because if you master, it's almost like you're mastering being an actor. I can pretend to be someone that's a villain. Doesn't mean I'm a villain. It's a little bit of a master. Yes, and I see you came off mute. Is this Ana, what are you going to say?
No, there's no such thing in this space to be an imposter syndrome. Nothing like that. Nothing.
That's exactly right. And then that behavior activates that. And you have to stay grounded in who you are. And it's hard to do. But again, just assess the people around you and how they influence you. And take the chair. So what we're going to do is, this is part one, right? So let's talk about part two. Part two is stepping into the lead role. We've talked a lot about, in order to be in a movie, you need to do the work of understanding the vision. What's the experience? Once you have that, we talk about action. What are you going to do about it? So in the next session that we're going to have on May 6th, it's going to be about understanding the scene. Okay, you're filming. Now it's your day-to-day. What's happening in your day-to-day? Do you understand the scene? Are you assessing your surroundings? Are you set up for success? Now that you know your goal, where are you? Are you in a place that's aligned to those goals? Or are you in a place that's not aligned for those goals? If the answer is not aligned, what are you doing to set yourself up for success so that you can get back towards being in a place that's aligned to those goals? Are you showing up with intention? And intention might be different. Intention might be being intentional about my time devoted to career development, being intentional about working on my value narrative and my pitch, being intentional of who I talk to, expanding my network. And you decide what intention means, but you're being intentional by saying, am I doing something in service of me and my vision? And finally, adapting in real time. Again, same as I said, things go wrong when you're filming as the director, but as the actor, you're in it. You're in the scene. That's a different scenario. And when I think about a movie, you're playing two roles. You're the director of your movie, but you're also the main character in your movie. And you play different roles. One is how you prepare, how you align the intent, and the other one is how you act, how you do. So part two will be very focused on the intentions of your day-to-day. And this is more of the planning. And you need both. The reason this is a two-part series is because you might be realized after today that you were only working on one of them. And guess what? If you were working on the second part on your main character, what script? You're being an actor again. Is it in service? Like if you don't have the vision of what you're working toward, then you're going to look back and be like, wait, this past year, I don't think I did anything for me and for my goals and for my purpose. So that's why it's a two-part thing. And you can wear both hats and step in and out of them. I think I don't want to give anyone an identity crisis, but it is a step of like, okay, I'm being a director. Great. If I'm being a director, I'm not going to be a critic for my acting skills because I'm not doing that right now. I'm going to be a critic for my director. What am I doing as a director and what am I doing as an actor? Sometimes our brain, very powerful. We're all very smart, but it's very tricky. It holds you. It's almost those are things that influence your morale. You want to be kind to yourself in this process and give yourself credit for having these hard conversations. And again, I will say it maybe for the 10th time tonight. It is okay when you realize you don't have an answer or you don't know. That's okay. Practice asking yourself the question over and over because now it's going to be on your radar and you're going to try. Oh, wait, I do like doing that. Great. Write that down. Now you have a thing you do like doing. Now you have a thing that you don't like doing. So be intentional. But overall, I'm very excited. I hope you're able to join us for part two. And as I said, thank you for the engagement from everyone. And Ruben, I'll pass it back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ana Sofia. This was incredible, really good information this evening. And for those of you who maybe didn't get a chance to look quite yet, I did drop the registration for part two of the session here in the chat. So we would love to see you there. We will also be recording that session and sharing out with, I'll share it with everyone who attended and registered for this session as well, just to make sure everyone gets the full scoop, full information. But yeah, I know we've got a little bit more time. I don't know if honestly if you wanted to check if there is any. Okay, yeah. If anybody has a question, we've got a little bit of time left over that we'll do our best to get to. And yeah, make sure you register for that May 6th session as well. So just a quick check for any questions in the chat or if anybody wants to hop on.
Great to hear.
Seeing a lot of heart reacts and a lot of thumbs up and a lot of, and I also keep refreshing and see the registration numbers going up for May 6th. So it's a good sign as well.
Natalie, I see a question coming up.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Natalie.
Natalie, we can't hear you. I see you're muted, but we can't hear anything yet. Oh man, we can't hear.
Oh no.
If it helps, we can use the chat too.
Yes.
Well, as Natalie's doing it, I appreciate the engagement. I hope you're able to join for part two. I think that the reason I did movies is because it's the way I remember. And sometimes all it takes is just finding a way that's memorable for you to just, again, be intentional.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ana Sofia, for my questions.
No, I love it. You don't need to apologize, Ana. I like conversation because otherwise it's like a one-woman show. And then I was like, no, I especially virtual, I want to see what people are thinking. So I will, don't apologize. That's exactly the type of energy I love from a room.
I will say I had questions on Ana Sofia, but then you would answer them right after. So
oh, nice.
That's a big compliment, Ali.
It was very, very eye-opening. I think especially me, like being in like my fourth, fifth year of like post grad or whatever,
Mhm.
I think like I'm struggling figuring out like what's the next step. So I think putting it into this metaphor is like very helpful. So thank you.
That's great to hear. And as I said, it's never, again, 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Oh, Natalie, I see you wrote in the chat, how are the differences on the approaches in defense and other industries? Ooh, honestly, I like that question because every industry is different. And I think that it goes back to reading the humans in the room. You know your industry best, and not everything resonates. You might come to a workshop where they say, meet with them, set up these meetings. You might be in an industry where you're like, actually, that's not the way we manage meetings and handle this communication. So I'd say when you're assessing your managers, your leaders, the people you're communicating with, I try to understand how do they normally communicate and engage? What resonates? Because that's the common thing. Whatever industry you work with, whatever role you have, in the end, it's communication. And some industries, is it more email driven? Is it meetings? Is it face to face? Is it a coffee? Is it a formal meeting? Is it a casual catch up? Do I go into the office and try to find someone during lunch? It's like that's only the best you could do. That I think it's more of what is the approach to make human connections? Because in the end, you need humans to be able to give your pitch. You need humans to perceive you. So it just comes down to, but in industries, I think the thing that varies is the reality that we're not assessing their communication style. You might tell me, yes, in defense, it's harder, it's more strict, it's more formal. Great. Then your approach is going to be formal. Just because I said a casual approach doesn't mean that it always applies to your industry. So you're going to deliver it in the way your industry, it will resonate with your I love this question because that's your target audience. To me, an industry, specifically defense, for example, that's your target audience. Your movie is in a space where you want to make sure that your vertical, your function, they understand it. What does that? This is what resonates with them. They like dramas, or they like more serious, or they're or more cut or shorter. Maybe they like shorter films. Why are you giving them a 3-hour film? If in your industry, it's like it's all about short and quick. Actually, they're not visual. It's written. Give them a one-pager about your goals. So many times I think about my manager and how they communicate. If they're the type that they can't keep track of it and I can't trust it, before the meeting, I'm going to send them an email with my agenda. I'm going to send them a follow-up and make sure that if they're not the ones that communicate it, I'm just giving them something that's prepackaged and I'm being intentional. That's what I want you to do where I need help. So don't be afraid. It might feel a little bit like doing homework, but it is homework. You're assessing your surrounding. What if my target audience is defense? What resonates? Watch people around you. What works for others? If someone is advancing in their career, ask them what they're doing. What did you do that worked? And they might tell you, I did this thing, I met with this person, I did this approach, and it all becomes in how they did their pitch, how they told their value story. Was it by speaking through metrics? Was it by giving an example? Was it storytelling? Was it having others say the story for you, or you say it? Sometimes you're in companies where the influence happens when others talk about you, not when you do it. Great, now you know that you have to work on others sharing your story. Did that help, Natalie? Well, I hope it did. And in part 2, we can continue going into that. So if that's not exactly answering it, and I see the thumbs up, continue those questions coming, because you're right. You are in different industries. It's not a one size fits all. And that's exactly right. But only you know your target audience best.
Absolutely. All right. I know. Thank you so much. That's really great answer, really good questions, and just good engagement all around from everyone throughout the duration of the evening. I know we are a little bit over time, so we will go ahead and leave the rest of it to the next session. So May 6th, registration information is in the chat. After you sign up tonight, you'll also get a brief survey about our event this evening. So please fill that out so we can plan for future events. And just thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, Ana Sofia, for the opportunity and for sharing your expertise. This was wonderful, really good evening and information, and we look forward to seeing everyone at the next session.
Thank you. Hope everyone has a great evening. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.